Hello and welcome to Irish Science Fiction. My name is Brian Sexton, and if you hang around, you are about to hear Chapter 41 from the 56 chapters of Nancy Goodham, the Space Ranger. So, a hen, it's a da, it's a tree, and away we go. Everybody wake up! Yelled the sheriff. Yeah, wake up! Agreed one of the noobs nearest him. Is he talking to me? Asked Catherine. She had been asleep on the floor of a wide and surprisingly warm packed earth tunnel outside a canteen in the labyrinth of Chunticle. A Martian sheriff was now standing at the entrance to that canteen, bellowing at the top of his voice. The smell of breakfast followed his voice and helped to wake the 24 or so noobs who had also been asleep on the clay floor. They had fallen asleep listening to a motivational speech by Hobla Graniker Defence League co-founder Gumgulliger Unterwackle, or, as he is known in certain circles, Bip. He was now sitting, dazed and wild-eyed, opposite the entrance to the canteen, and staring confusedly at the sheriff. Is it morning? He asked. I will never become ruler of Jupiter if my army spends its morning lazing about on the floor of an earth tunnel. Up ye get. Yes, it is morning, Bip. When else did you think it was? I thought it was last night, said Bip. Well, it's not last night. It's now. Time, and my inevitable rise to power waits for no Jupiterian, not even you, Bip. Morning it is. For how long? Asked Bip. He tried to stand, but then his knees buckled and forced him to slump back down. I meant to do that, he explained. It's my morning routine. Nobody cared. Whisht, said one of the noobs. The leader is speaking. Morning means blood, and Sawsman Borkstapel's army getting their heads kicked in, announced the sheriff. Are you talking to me? Asked Catherine. Yes, you and everyone, explained the sheriff. And soon I will be talking to the entire planet. Now, what was I saying? You were talking about blood and Sosman Borkstapel, reminded one of the noobs. And heads getting kicked in. That was the last part. And probably the most important part, suggested another noob. Definitely the most important part, said another. Will the lot of ye just shut your holes? Said a particularly old and clapped-out looking male noob. He had the look of someone who had not slept properly for a sustained period of time and was now angry with the universe because of it. All I hear is pure rubbish. I don't mind being infinitely punished by a representative of the creator of the universe, but this background chat is too much, especially from you, Bip, with your acts and your stories. You've been rabbiting all night. Being infinitely punished while listening to a crowd of numpties natter on about nothing is a step too far. I'm too old for it. Cut it out, the lot of ye. It is not nattering about nothing, yelled the sheriff. It is nattering about all life in the solar system and how it needs to be arranged. Maybe the universe begins and ends for you with pointlessly tunneling under the surface of Jupiter, but everyone else wants to be part of the army of darkness, my army, the greatest army the solar system has ever seen. Now, why don't you go over and kill that old duffer with an axe? I don't want to get my crossbow bolts dirty. It's too early for that. Are you sure? Asked one of the noobs. I'm always sure, replied the sheriff. It's just that if we start the day by killing each other, it might set the wrong tone for later. Ah, yes, agreed the sheriff. That's also what I was thinking. Nobody kill each other, unless I tell ye. Just kill Sosniaks. Just shut your holes, yelled the older, haggard noob. Just ignore him. Now, what was I talking about? Sosniaks getting their heads kicked in, suggested a noob. Complete bollocks, noted the older, haggard noob. Are you sure this isn't last night? Asked Bip. If it's the morning, then I mustn't have slept. We have been through that, snapped the sheriff. It is morning, and the beginning of the end of the rule of Sosman Borkstapel, and the beginning of my rule of the solar system. Well, can you do it quietly? Said the older noob. I cannot. This is not a quiet day. I need everyone to do their parts in making me the ruler of Jupiter. Are you talking to me too? Asked Catherine. Of course I'm talking to you, said the sheriff. I'm talking to everyone, because you all need to hear what the plan is. I want no part of this. I just want to return to Earth, said Catherine. I don't care what you want. You're distracting me from getting everyone to do what I want. Actually, hang on. Do you know what? Said the sheriff. I need an advanced party of scouts, useful idiots, who will go ahead and trigger any Sosniak ambushes or other trickery they might be up to. So, Bip, go take that mouthy old fart of a noob and this extraterrestrial and head to the surface and find Sosman's lair. It's in Hobla Graniker, said Bip. Well, I know that. Just go there and take the extraterrestrial and that loudmouth old fart with you. And don't come back. I'll catch up to you later with the greatest army the solar system has ever known. What time will that be at? Asked Bip. Have we time for breakfast? Only I can smell food and I'm hungry. It'll be soon. So go away, you three now. There's no time to eat food. Who said that? Came a high-pitched voice from behind the sheriff and inside the canteen he had just exited. Me, said the sheriff. Who's me? Asked the voice. The soon-to-be supreme ruler of Jupiter. Well, you're wrong. There is always time for food, continued the high-pitched voice, which now sounded closer to the door. Your food is and always has been rotten, Martina, noted the sheriff. And these three, scouts have more important things to be doing than polluting themselves with your horrible meal. There's nothing more important than breakfast, yelled the high-pitched voice. There are more important things than breakfast, continued the sheriff. All the things I say and do for a start. But I don't have time to explain to lesser-minded people why, so, go on, feed Bip and his two buddies, Martina. But do it quickly, Martina replied with a sort of word. F, she said. This inspired the older, grumpy noob to wobble to his feet, holster his axe, and walk slowly but determinedly to the gap in the clay tunnel wall that led to the delicious food smell, and Martian waitress / astronaut Martina Ruddlesmitch, Canteen RB71, and breakfast. Bip followed the older Jupiterian to the food. Come on, Catherine, he said as he passed where she was sitting. What followed was Catherine eating the nicest breakfast she had ever tasted, Bip eating the 426th nicest breakfast he had ever tasted, and the older noob eating a breakfast that he gauged to be tasty from the expressions of the others, but the tastiness of which he was unable to determine with his old and worn-out taste buds. He knew, in any case, that the bucket of food he had eaten was enough to make him full, and that would have to do. Bip then led all three back out into the corridor and theatrically ushered them past the pontificating Martian sheriff and his audience of noobs. Catherine and the older noob followed until they were far enough along the tunnel for it to be quiet. Bip stopped, turned to face Catherine and the older noob, and said, We can take the Hanuppity route. It will take us over the Tarvanti Grantal and out near the upper Hoblogranical Convergence. We should be able to blend in with the trade robots and sneak into the city that way, he suggested. Are you daft? A brightly coloured axe-wielding hyperactive loudmouth, an extraterrestrial, and someone who hasn't seen the light of day in 63 solar orbits. We should blend in. What, with robots? Tell me how that work, asked the older noob. It's the best plan we have. The best plan we have is to go back to sleep. I barely slept a wink with all that ranting. I didn't sleep either, noted Bip. That's because you were doing the ranting. Is it a long journey? Asked Catherine, who was ignored by both Bip and the haggard noob. It's harder to rant than to listen, noted Bip. Prove it. Right, so, what's your name? Dungula the Almighty. Your name's not Dungula the Almighty. How do you know? Because it just isn't, said Bip, who thought for a second and added, You're not one bit mighty, never mind almighty. I might have believed you if you said Dungula the old and bockety. It doesn't matter whether you believe me or not, that's my name. Well, I'm not calling you almighty, said Bip. Then why did you ask for my name if you don't want to call me by it? I didn't know it was going to be Dungula the Almighty. Right so, then just call me Mighty, said the older noob. Is it a long journey? Asked Catherine for a second time. 1 minute, Catherine, said Bip. I'm trying to prove to this old fart that listening to ranting is easier than ranting. I might be old, but I'm not a fart, and my name is Dungula, the Almighty to you. It's mighty to me. That'll do. Go on anyway, Bip. You're about to try to prove ranting is hard. And I will, if you let me get started. It's just, I don't know where I am, and I urgently need to contact my crewmates. Can you say if it's going to be a long journey? Asked Catherine for the third time. Quiet, please, Catherine, said Bip. I'm trying to prove to Mighty that ranting is harder than listening to ranting. Well, you're not doing a very good job of it, noted the old male noob, now known to Bip as Mighty. I'm trying, snapped Bip. Well, you'd want to try a bit harder. I don't want to keep interrupting, but I need to know what I'm getting myself into from the start. We don't have any equipment to speak of, and I have no idea of the temperature variations or radiation levels we could encounter, or even how long it might take. Mighty here said that he had been down in these tunnels for 63 solar rotations. That amounts to 756 Earth years, which is much longer than my lifespan, and... Catherine's voice trailed off. Quiet, Catherine. I can't think what you're complaining. Now, where was I? Said Bip. Making a mess of proving that ranting is harder than listening to it. Bip threw his left hand into the air and flung his axe with his right. It whooshed through the air and embedded itself into the wall of the tunnel, about 20 metres further from where he had been standing, talking to Catherine and the tired-looking older noob named Mighty. This is impossible, he snapped. How can I prove anything to ye if ye keep interrupting? You with your blah blah planetary rotation journey measuring Catherine, and you with your stupid name, Mighty. I can't think straight. I'm sick of it. All I want to do is mush a few dozen Sosniaks into Flungal and then murder Sosman Barstapple, and yet here I am, stuck in a dank musty tunnel with an extraterrestrial and an old codger that looks like he's been buried in the swamps of Shan Lava Feistin Uachtar for the best part of an eon. It's unbearable. Every time I try to tell you the simplest of things, he butt in with stuff I'm not interested in. I can't take it anymore. I've been up all night trying to do the right thing by letting ye know the dangers we will face. And where did it get me? Stuck without any sleep and 2 useless soldiers on a ridiculous mission to get to Hobla Graniger with no help. And yes, I know the sheriff, praise be to his wisdom, has just sent us away because we were annoying him. But still, it's just, well, ye should know. I don't know. I suppose at least we got breakfast. But this mission is just, I don't know anymore. I miss the early days of the Hobla Graniger Defence League when it was me and Morkador and Miakta. But where are they now? Stuck, well not stuck, dismembered, inside Breezy McAspen's muffled dark chest, in the Forest of Proverbs. That's just so, I'm so tired.
Bip's voice trailed away and was replaced with a brief silence. Fair enough, said the older noob. I take your point. Ranting is probably harder than listening to ranting. Anyway, we better get going. We've a long journey ahead.
How long? Asked Catherine.
Not sure. I've been so long down these tunnels that I've forgotten what the upside-outside world is like. You'll have to ask Bip. Actually, on second thoughts, don't. Give him a break for a while now and follow me.
The older noob walked along the dark, tortured, clay-lined corridor as far as Bip's axe, pulled it from the wall and carefully returned it to Bip.
Come on, son. We've a long road ahead. Just follow me till we get out of the labyrinth. After that, you'll need to point the way.
The older noob walked a short distance along the corridor and stopped at a gap in the clay wall to the left of where they were walking.
There are steps in here that lead to the surface. We'll have to climb in the dark, but once we head up, we'll be going the right direction. We should have a bit of daylight at the top.
The older noob then frowned and looked at Catherine.
You have no weapon, he said.
She's an expert with spacecraft. She doesn't need one, replied Bip. Well, maybe not an expert, but she knows more than you or me about spacecraft, so that's something.
It's not a weapon, and only the Bongerlon knows what we will face on the surface.
You're scared, said Bip.
I am, replied the older noob. And you would be too, if you weren't a simpleton.
Don't try and hide it. I know you're scared.
There could be a glimp waiting up there to pounce the moment we exit the labyrinth, said the noob.
You're not fooling me. You're scared. Afraid to leave, said Bip.
If there is, we'd be instantly mushed to Flungal, noted the older noob.
There's no point in hiding it. I can tell you're scared, said Bip.
He just said he was, said Catherine. So is it fair to kept you here all those years, Mighty? Asked Catherine. Sorry, I mean all those solar revolutions.
Don't hate him. He's scared, noted Bip.
What if it's a cantabular glimp? They're the worst kind, wondered the older noob.
Have you ever seen one? Asked Bip.
No.
Then how would you know what it was? Trust me, cantabular glimps will be the least of your worries. Sosniaks might be lazy and stupid, but they're average at fighting, and there's loads of them in Hobla Graniger.
Bip then walked past the hesitant older noob and into the gap in the clay wall. The older noob hobbled behind slowly and was followed by Catherine. All three climbed and felt the coal-packed clay wall turn from clay to stone. The steps wound upwards and became gradually steeper until the air became humid and the stone walls damp, and light appeared above them. A curtain of vegetation blocked the exit from the labyrinth. Bip swung his axe and the vegetation dropped to the ground, and he stepped out. The older noob and Catherine followed, slowly.
Aha, said Bip,
once all three were out of the damp, overgrown stone tunnel entrance.
The Aclontian Rains of Ballyriss. This is going to be tricky. We'll have to make our way through them to get to the other side.
Catherine stepped around the older noob, who'd gone from a slow tiptoeing gait to a complete stop. I was now listening carefully to nothing. She could see that they were somewhere high. A damp, wind-blown, misty rain filled the air and obscured almost everything. What she could see was vegetation and rock, and a large valley filled with distant, damp vegetation, more rock, and more misty rain. What other side? She asked.
Hard to tell, noted Bip. Hopefully the side nearest Hobla Graniger. We won't have any way of knowing until we get there. It's a pity we ended up here. Where we were yesterday was closer to the Stormy Hills, and it's a lot easier to get your bearings there.
We could go back, suggested Catherine.
No, definitely not, said Bip. I don't want to be thought of as someone who would be stupid enough to follow an old bockety noob's directions into a damp stairway that leads to the Aclontian Rains. It'd be embarrassing.
Did you hear anything? Asked the older noob. His face was pale. No, said Catherine.
We'll just have to make the best of where we are,
nodded Bip.
There's no way I'm going back to the labyrinth, all embarrassed for having taken a stupid exit from the labyrinth, and having to explain to the sheriff that we messed up, and him only new in the job. He talks to the gut, you know. Imagine if word got back to the creator of the universe that we three are useless with directions.
So, can we get to my colleagues from here or not? Asked Catherine. I think I heard a glimp, said the older noob.
No, it would be just too embarrassing,
continued Bip.
A lot of the younger noobs look up to me. Imagine finding out that your hero was useless at directions and ended up standing in the Atlantean Range of Ballyriss with a jittery old fart and an extraterrestrial, and the three of them standing about with one arm longer than the other. No, that wouldn't do. Wouldn't do at all. Not one bit. There's only one thing for it. We'll have to traverse the Atlantean Range.
Will it take us to, Sosman?
Hoblagranaker, Catherine. Call it Hoblagranaker. That's its name, and no. But with luck it will take us to the Hanuppany route, which will bring us over to Tarvahi Grontal.
And that leads to, Hoblagranaker? Asked Catherine.
Yes, well no. It leads to the Upper Hoblagranaker Convergence, which is a big step in the right direction.
I think I hear a glimp. What does a glimp sound like? Asked the older noob.
I'm surprised that you hear anything, you daft old fart. Not so smart on the upside, are you? You're all-knowing down in the dark, but up here you're as ignorant as the rest of us, said Bip. Am I right, Catherine?
I've no idea, said Catherine.
Exactly. None of us have any idea,
nodded Bip.
So any direction is as good as any other. Come on, the Towie, follow me.
But what about the glimp? Asked the older noob.
There's no glimp. You'd hear the clack, clack, clack if there was a glimp a mile off. Stop being so jittery. You're here now, so get used to it. Besides of which, it was you that led us to the staircase. You'd swear you'd never climbed it before.
I haven't.
I bet you haven't.
Of course I haven't. No noob ever climbed it. Not in living memory. The whole climbing out of the labyrinth business only started yesterday. And I'm not a fan. There's probably not even canteens on the surface.
I think I preferred you when you were grumpy and sarcastic, Mighty. You won't get to smash in the heads of Soslinks if you keep that attitude up. Think positively. There are wrong directions and right directions, so there's a chance we'll be on the right direction by heading, this way.
Bip took a large step and reached around some vegetation.
Too skinny and brittle, he muttered. I'm probably Jupiter's finest vinesmith, you know, so once we find some good ones, we'll be on our way.
I don't know what you're talking about, said Catherine. That makes three of us, muttered the older noob.
Good man, Mighty,
said Bip.
That's more like it. We're going to need you bitter, angry, and with a chip on your shoulder if you're going to be any use on this mission.
And so Bip, freshly enthusiastic after a brief underground bout of uncertainty and despondence, took his first step into the Atlantean Range. He was followed by a slightly reluctant but resigned to her fate European Space Agency mission commander Catherine Bishop, who was followed by a recently spooked and recurringly grumpy aged noob called Mighty. They travelled slowly as Bip cut and trampled a path through the damp, misty vegetation that Atlantean was moderately famous for. To the right were several vaulted caves. Although not visible from the outside, the caves were brightly lit with billions of tiny flying lunaticules. The walls of the caves sprouted tasty Funglodian tubers, and many crystal fountains sprinkled Atlantean wine into circular pools, where every night the lunaticules gather and generate a gleaming display that replicates all the stars in the galaxy. And they sing the most beautiful song the universe has ever known. And if either Bip or Catherine or Mighty had had the urge, they could have visited and stayed, and led a pleasant life there. But such is not the way with living creatures, and Bip's trampling soon led away from the caves, and deeper into the Atlantean Range, and further from the labyrinth exit, until finally they were lost. Bip stopped and rested his hands on his knees.
This stupid place is all wrong. How are folks supposed to find their way through it? It's a disgrace,
he said. Do you still know the way? Asked Catherine.
Course I do, said Bip. But this isn't it.
Then where is this? Asked Catherine.
Not the way. That's as much as I can tell you.
Gobshite, muttered the older noob. And so it was for the morning of the 7th day of the first human expedition to another planet. An underground army of sorts. 4 new Sosniak recruits / double agents. European Space Agency mission specialist Nancy Goodaim McGinley, Misty Rain, Breakfast, The Fear of a Glimp, Lunaticules, and the last remaining copy of the Book of Bongerlon, Adrift on the Sea of Uncertainty, on Jupiter. Okay, thank you very much for listening to that. As always, you have my appreciation. There'll be another chapter along in hopefully 2 weeks, and chat to you then.